That's right. That's right. Yeah, we share that.
if you have a poetry. Bo, are you reading something? Are you going to read a poem or two? Or no.
I'm going to listen.
Well, welcome everyone. It's always a delight to see our first Thursday crowds. I guess as people come up to read, they can alter this, I suppose, is the best thing to do. But so we're delighted to host three poets this evening, two Palestinian Americans and a Lebanese American poet, coming, at least diagonally out of that very rich tradition of Arabic poetry and respect for the beauty of the word. So, and all three of them are accomplished practitioners of the poetic arts. And they couldn't decide on an order because they're all very modest people who want to defer to, their colleagues. So I have three pieces of paper. I'm just going to shuffle them. And apparently now the first reader will be Priscilla Wathington. So let me just to say, her chapbook is called Paper and Stick. She's widely published in various distinguished outlets, including Michigan Quarterly Review and Prairie Schooner. And she's been a writer in residence at San Francisco State University Poetry Center, as well as a Tin House Winter Workshop scholar. And so we'll now have the pleasure of hearing from Priscilla.
Whoa, this is fancy. No. Okay. See, I knew I was doing that wrong.
Turn it the other way.
Let's make sure it's in a good spot.
Okay.
Now, if it's too high or too low, we can adjust that.
Okay.
It was kind of the right
Immediately
orientation.
wrong.
Picks up from the side. You stay right where
Okay,
you
I'll
wanna
stay.
be. And maybe we'll lower it a little bit,
Okay.
and but
And
we'll
I'll-
keep it sort of like that. All right.
Okay.
It's gonna work. You don't have to get right up on top of it. It's a nice condenser mic. It's gonna
Cool.
pick you up
Thank you.
without any problem.
I'm not used to fancy tech.
Well,
Thank you.
this is the place of fancy.
Very cool. Thank you so much for making this space for Palestinians, for taking care of May Day and all it stands for, and for all the people here. I can't wait to hear the open mic. It really means a lot. These little tiny local pockets where we're all safe together. We all love words. We all love humans. And where we are standing against genocide. Thank you for having us. And thank you, Deema, for organizing us. Really appreciate it. I had an instinct to read old poems and one new one. And I think it has to do with some of the things we were talking about before we began this reading about just how recurrent all the trauma and all the death that's happening right now is. And I don't say that only in the sense of reminding us of history, but also reminding us that people have survived this before. People have written, people have left behind things that we can hold on to. And even my own past selves have done that. So this poem is called Boys with Long Curls, which I wrote back in the early 2000s about being stoned while driving through a Jewish area of Jerusalem on the Sabbath. It's called Boys with Long Curls. I almost died, I tell my sister while scrubbing spaghetti from a pot. What was the settlement's name, she asked, but I didn't know. It didn't seem important then. My dad kept driving, cheeks stretched, while my mother gripped the dash. I was half asleep, Simone de Beauvoir on my lap, as boys with long curls hurled limestones at a Peugeot. That was the summer I learned how to drive, pierced my navel in a Russian needle shop, and went home to fight with my mother. And really, I forgive her. It was too much. The pots, the daughters, the checkpoints that kept popping like gophers from a hole. And there was no trap at Ziad's because Ziad's was bulldozed. I wanted to read that poem because for me, it's somehow helpful remembering the time before everything that is today was so sure, so solid, where the checkpoints were mostly movable objects. And there was a kind of space that opened up in the uncertainty. This one is from my chap. It's called Silicon Wadi. And it's about now a dated plan that Israel had to turn a Palestinian neighborhood into a new sort of tech center. Sore to the eye are we, rough-hewn along the forehead, industry of calf and car parts, of pajama, the kind you wear in a house of kerosene by day, hot water bottle by night, of a hankering for rose water and sheep intestines. When we bring Tel Aviv home, oh, is that mine? I'm so sorry. Okay, no worries. Sometimes I have timers for things my kids are supposed to do. Yeah, no worries. No worries. Of a hankering for rose water and sheep intestines. When we bring Tel Aviv home, it's in our shirts, free ketchup packets, rocks for the tabun, a laugh too large for the permission granted. Of brown bag bizr on the bus, we spit fallahin after 2 generations of trousers, our grandmother's hair, the orange of kenefe. Of vegetable soap that still slides around the squatting bathroom shower. Of a town disappearing into a theory of silicon in a dried out valley. Of a tap wiped with bleach cloth just this hour, a bucket perfectly positioned for a doctrine of pipes. It is so quiet in here. I'm going to read one more from my chap. And I just want to shout out my old organization, Defense for Children International Palestine, still doing good work in the West Bank, still defending detained young Palestinian people with so many echoes of what's happening today with Trump. My old colleague from DCIP, Brad Parker, is one of the lawyers for Mahmoud Khalil today. And so you see how much the work of justice is connected, the work against one system determined to ignore people and take away their rights, learning from others, and us having to learn how to fight them with the same tools. And I saw some wonderful books in here also with such ideas. This is called Deadline Extended, and it has in it the words from a prisoner, a former prisoner who was grabbed by Israeli soldiers before he was 18. As if it were a film rolling in front my eyes, my mother wanted to give me a jacket. Takes the body apart, vein by sinew. They tied me to that chair every time, 15 times, but I never. Only to find the muscle is wood, air that was coming into the cell, Ascalon military court 3 times, for which I pulled shut the blue curtain, Salem military court. This next poem is from the recently released anthology. I am spacing on the name. The Palestine Rights recent anthology, which has been released. Yes, yes. It is called Dear Language of Opportunity, and you can find the full anthology on the Palestine Rights website. This poem borrows an idea, not so much a line, but as an idea from Padraig Ó Tuama's poem, The Pedagogy of Conflict, where he's writing about the Troubles. And he had this line which really moved me. It said, "So I count one life, one life, one life, one life, one life, because each time is the first time that life has been taken." And it's such a simple thought, but for me it has to do with the way that we start counting people in these broad crises. And there's this complete flattening of all the lives caught up in these big numbers of 60,000 dead Palestinians. But for each person, it's a one life. Dear language of opportunity, you with your tongue against the backs of teeth, you of of s. Let me ask you this. Which one of us the drum's old skin, and which the stick? You know why I'm asking. You've been bargaining again. Death was spreading its fungus on a fig, eating tomorrow's honey. Don't say you did what you could. Don't give me lessons on the wasp that burrows into the center, losing her wings. A truck with body bags came in. People took what they needed. What did they need? They needed a cup of flour. They needed an iron pill. But instead, you were where? Whose? The people counted one, one, one. O language, what hush you made below. This poem is written kind of in the form of a bio, like the little blurb at the back of your book. So it's sort of in that sort of shape, and it's called About the Author. And it really comes out of my experience going home, going through the airport, and being asked, where did you sleep last night? Ask me where I am, what I am, I'll say, I slept in Jerusalem last night. I didn't drag my suitcase over the earthen barrier, hack the iron gate. During the exam, the optometrist said, there are some parts of the light field the eye shouldn't see. I cheated, looked away from the black box, drove my car over stalks of chobeze. See how I beg for attention, how I bury wild rosemary in the pin prick where the optic nerve enters your skull. She says she can show me the subsurface of my cornea on her monitor, how my vein bulges but doesn't burst. Some patients have thrown up after seeing. I haven't vomited since I abandoned my anorexia, swallowed the spoon instead. My throat is so flexible, I could birth a restaurant called Oasis in Ohio. I could retch sequins over your rice. At my teta's house in Nasira, we always ate fried fish with a side of cracked wheat. My sister would squeeze the lens out of the fish's eye and look through. See a picture of my peeled eye. The smudge where she held my eyelashes back pushed me into the light. Thank you. We have a friend who we run a reading series, Samar, with, me and Zeina, and she's an optometrist, so I read her that poem too. This final poem is a new one. I haven't read something new and vulnerable for a while. I just haven't wanted to be that vulnerable, but this felt like a kind of space where I wanted to be. So thank you for being that kind of a space. This poem is called Quiet World. I just wrote it yesterday, so it might change. All day, the talk is lint. Committees meet and look at their calendars. Beneath us, the carpet hardly moves. The lobby doesn't even smell of corpses. It's Monday here. There's a salad bar here. A wall is blown off by someone's son. He's getting his life back on track now. His father doesn't cry outside his door anymore. They're thinking about adopting a dog. The clock on each laptop jogs on its treadmill. The meeting resumes. No one looks at the sky anymore. Looking has gotten risky. Once I looked at a birthday cake and I saw a president's face. It was burning there, next to a piece of my cousin's bedroom. And the wind, brown and gurgling, stopped just long enough to hold our song. Thank you, Deema. Thank you, everybody. I can't wait to hear you both read.
Priscilla, thank you so much, Priscilla Wathington. Thank you. And I can assure you the early silence was related to the sublime poetry. That's, leaving people speechless is very, very important. Next on my list happens to be Deema, Shehabi, who is a Palestinian-American poet whose book is entitled 13 Departures from the Moon, which is an exquisite title. And among her many accomplishments is that she has been co-editing with Beau Beausoleil for the Al-Mutanabi Street Starts Here Memorial Project, which memorializes an alleyway / street in Baghdad, which was destroyed by a terrorist bombing in 2007, named after Al-Mutanabi, and it was a gathering place in bookstalls, poets, thinkers, students, anarchists, various dangerous and sundry inspired people were there, and of course it was part of the tragic series of events that eventuated there after the wild American imperial excursion, which is still going on in many manifestations. But so she's done that with Beau. It's been a wonderful thing. She's the winner of the 2018 Nassim Hikmet Poetry Competition. She's been widely published in many prestigious periodicals and anthologies, including Kenyon Review and Prairie Schooner, LA Review of Books, and the list goes on. So we're delighted to host her tonight. Deema.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm so happy to be here with my sisters. And thank you so much to you all for being here, and Michael, Eric, Beau, as always, for being here. I guess I just want to talk about, I have a few questions I want to address which have been haunting me in the past few months. And they're mostly about what does it mean to be writing poetry in a time of genocide, right? What does it mean to be a poet-writer in an empire that is determined to exterminate your people? How can the Palestinian body within empire be celebrated and understood? If writing across culture and time is about cross-fertilization and mutual exchange of ideas, how do we reconcile audience with the uncensored lived reality of our being? Those are questions I'm trying to find answers to, but they keep blowing up in my face, literally. So it's been hard. I'd like to start with a poem that intersects the landscapes of California and Palestine at uneven longitudes. It is both a conversation with belonging and language at the same time. It's called Tracery of Dune and Chamomile. It was only when your eyes finally closed against a weeping cherry, lashing your face in the spent season, lashing roses spent in fugue with a long drought, the soil beneath sun-flogged and showing its white, wormy marrow, like it was the beginning again when we wrote each other supplicant sentences. But there was no beginning, as when you held a mirror to my face, saying, "This is what language is," a smoke crumpling on the light. Your voice beyond argument, insisting on enjoining the emphatic dead, when I realized how dream-led I am, my face not yet broken by butterflies. Defiled by roses, a garden lifting towards the Jura Mountains and drinking white butterflies with a half-red face. Greenhouses with damascene roses brushing the distance, but there is no perfume in the air when in rows of successive summers the woodpecker maims 2 poplars in ritualistic primal, and in the dream we patch those scars with sawdust, filling until even our nails pierce yellow and our eyes float grit. Is this innocence lost, I ask, as you swear your allegiance to poplars over the woodpecker? Smoke in my nostrils from the Calder fire, when flames sprout in the hills above Jerusalem, unearthing Palestinian terraces, swelling like topographic maps of our could-have-been childhood. But there was no childhood that wasn't an allegory, as when I stood watering the garden grapevines, all the while feeding my eyes to the ashes and wondering about this colossal of origins, when I finally understood your silence as hope, your non-belonging to me as hunger. Thank you. This next poem began, it's a ghazal, and I first encountered the ghazal directly through Agha Shahid Ali's translations of the ghazal. This poem was kind of unearthed or born when we were driving on Highway 1, my husband and I, and the family, our 2 boys behind us in the car. So this is Ghazal Home. On Highway 1, you belt me with there's no home outside of home, but here's a sun hurtling on my chest and a Fairuz song rewriting home. 30 years since her death, I spread my body over her grave. 2 sons watch, bleary-eyed. What's a mother but a magnified home? Oh, love, I'm the only Umayyad left, the sole Abdurrahman. On your diaphanous collarbone, the new Damascus, our bona fide home. At dusk in a Fresno orchard, we identified Palestine's trees, Balut, Sidr, Qayqab, Zaytun, but we still couldn't override home. Son, I lied when I said a sparrow saw you through the window. There's no spoonful of sugar for my longing to keep you inside home. Grenades erupt from your eyes when fatherhood chews you out. Forget kisses behind the closet, secret darling. Let's fly home. I don't know how the human heart can recover from moral injury, he said. How do I go on with none left beside me to define home? Al-Ghazali, true friends are those who remind us of the one friend. What do you call these anemones leaning towards us on the ride home? The term huzn refers to a general state of sadness and melancholy as a result of unspecified loss beyond nostalgia, right? It is mentioned several times in the Quran, and Orhan Pamuk actually describes it in great detail in his memoir on Istanbul, which is a lovely memoir. So this is huzn. In the air, a house in ruin except for a wrought iron balcony, as though the last tenant was a paper pinned to the door, as though her breath was a sparrow fed to the hawk. The low fog over the hill startles her son out of summer. Isn't it autumn yet? You wouldn't know what autumn is until your gaze becomes a red tinge on the horizon, until the sun transforms into a saffron mawal, she whispers. The boy at her side breathes heavily. He is used to her touching his shoulders when she speaks, his body longer than ever, longer than the yellow surfboard in the garage, longer than the iron horse trail they biked when he was 2. In the memoir, the city sickens and entices its native son. He gorges on its shadow streets, no longer laden with poppies or tulips. What he feels is almost unsayable, but when he thinks of his childhood, he is there by the water, doves gliding across the acrid porous, skin opening. She takes him with her to the nail salon smelling of formaldehyde, to the school parking lot where mothers hunch over phones to hide their weeping, to PTA meetings with recessionary budget reports, and to the sheriff's teen lecture on vape. The river of collapsed lungs is coming, he says. In her dream, an angel shows her a vision of hills green as far as the eye can see, although the season of musk vanishes. No rosacea-faced cherubs with scratched knees remain. No mule ears swishing at hide and seek. Here I come is a voice from someplace far. It marks her displacement. Memory delights, but also terrifies, so she turns to the moon who crops her eyes shut. Gentle now. This ache is known to ancients, mothers, children, Sufis and prisoners. Its pattern language truer than hunger's blade, more real than the prick of thornberry thickets. Women suffer, but men die, she sings, though her grief is nowhere to be found. I'll end with a poem for my dearly departed uncle, who was a Gazan, quintessential Gazan. Generous, beautiful, resilient. And it's an ode to him, and it consists of a series of vignettes of my experience being with him at different times in my life. His name was Nahed, so the poem is called Nahed. The mu'adhin gripped the minaret's head and dipped it into the sea. Water in the submerged prayer's voice rushed ahead. A voice like water reached the cemetery deep within the city. They didn't believe he crushed a girl's ribs with just one hug. They didn't believe he crushed her ribs in an orchard full of pines. She forbade the children to shout his name across the house walls. Instead, whisper it to the grapevine where salt in its veins will mix with tears cried over him and strangle the gardener's nose. He pricked her with a poem for his dead mother, then composed a wedding song for the newlyweds and stitched it across the sky, between the moon balcony and pink jasmine, between Jerusalem and Gaza, between the olive and lemon. I want to break this house with sobs, he said. Each sob for a lost sister, each sister a blossom from the vine of Lady Banks' rose. Heat from the sea sun condensed the sweat on his forehead, which fell into a poppy that grew out of a rock, as seen by a tourist from Norway. Her head on his chest, next to a bubbling fountain on a Sunday in a garden in Damascus. His voice muffled the faint cries of the tortured in the wind. Faith can't be measured by how far an eye can see, he said to her once, as she wiped mascara from her eyelids. She said to his son as he walked along the pier, I was selling sardines at the fish market with my 10 children, and he gave me a box full of lemons, orchards, and grapefruit from a heavenly orchard. How could you allow a womb full of adjectives to break off from my body, she whispered as they swung low on a hammock in autumn. Thank you.
Well, the gorgeous verse continues, and The third reader of our trio, a featured trio this evening, is Zeina Hashem Beck. And I'm already excited. This is a book, I guess, Penguin Poets is going to bring out in 2027. And it's called This Was Supposed to Be About Beauty, and it's 40 palindromic sonnets. Now, boy, it's going to be worth the wait. Definitely. That's one I'll keep my eyes peeled for. I love that. So Zeina is the winner of the 2023 Arab American Book Award for Poetry for her collection O. It's called O. And his other collections include Louder Than Hearts and To Live in Autumn. And she's also been published in a number of chapbooks, anthologies, has a podcast, and I guess you could tell people, I guess that's available for those who would like to enjoy that.
It's a podcast in Arabic. So
Oh, okay, well, that's
about
good.
Arabic poetry. So.
Yeah, well, it's good for the musical cadences. You can just check it out. So we're delightful to have Zeina as the concluding member of our featured trio tonight. All right.
Let me just. I didn't prepare my set because I have teenage girls, and it's a Thursday, so I want to make sure I don't run over. So this is the time. Thank you for Bird and Beckett for having us. Thank you, Deema, for organizing. Thank you, Priscilla, for reading along with us. I'm going to begin with a poem I wrote on New Year's Eve titled New Year. Tell me about it, the year. The year you almost shattered your shoulder. The year you spilled all that past and red wine on the kitchen floor. The year you sang in alleys, in cars, in nightmares, where you looked for your love in dark clubs and shouted the wrong name. Tell me about the year. June, gorged with afternoons in conversation. January of chance, March of laughter, July of bombs. Tell me how you refreshed the news every hour and couldn't keep up with October, with the dead who outgrew the living. How you lost your mind and met deadlines. How you marched or did not march. How even on the bloodiest days you had dinner and forgetfulness, coffee and phone calls. How the worst days weren't the bloodiest, but those when a smile in May or August's water broke you. Tell me about September of rain and ruin, April of skin and dresses, December of defeated tyrants and open prisons. February of airplanes and friends who say, of course you can sleep in my bed. You, never good at endings. Remember how the only time you practiced prayer, your left shoulder touched your daughter's, your right shoulder brushed your friend's. You don't have to arrive at anything tonight. Remember how you went into the November woods, you, never good at beginnings, and you heard the trees make wooden sounds, as if they too were full of doors, of ghosts and names. Going to read from O, which was the latest one. Again, sorry, I did not prepare myself. All right, I'm going to read a poem for Beirut. This was, so I came to the US 3 years ago. This was written in 2016 when I was based between Beirut and Dubai. And I went with a friend to watch a show in like a cabaret, like pub underground called Metro Al Medina. There are no metros in Beirut, but we have Metro Al Medina, which is, a cabaret. And the show was called Bar Faru. So this is titled Everything Here is an Absolute. Bar Faru, Beirut, 2016 perhaps. Look at where this nostalgia has brought us. We go down the stairs and order frozen margaritas. It's been years since we've lived here. The waiter shows us our table, hopes we don't mind two American boys sitting with us. There's no space for them elsewhere in this cabaret called Metro in a capital without metros. We say we don't mind. We are used to the city of small spaces into which everything fits. The foreign students are our age, about a decade ago. They tell us their names and I decide to call them Ahmed and Faisal. They agree. As the performers go on stage, as the songs and smoke rise, we raise a toast and Ahmed and Faisal smile and clap non-stop. They even learned the Arab shoulder shimmy. Once I've margaritaed enough, I start explaining song lyrics. She's warning him. He will regret, and it's no disaster if he leaves. And yes, motor is pronounced motor. And suddenly, I discover I don't really know who Zain al-Abidin is, though I've been singing for him all my life. Yay, yay, yay needs no interpretation. Neither do the colorful costumes and feathers and all this going back in time. I want to shout, no one eats hummus with carrots. And no one calls this pita bread. It is just bread, khubz, because everything here is an absolute. Faisal says, thank you. And I remember one expression for thank you is, may your hands be safe and sound. Then I ask, doesn't Beirut remind you of New York? His silence is polite. To which I argue, there are no fire escapes here, but there could have been. Some cities burn faster than others. I Beiruted East Houston at first sight, and my friend disagreed and said streets were making me delirious again. What I mean is, if you write your name on a wall and find it gone, you say, my name has left. Would you feel abandoned? Would you trace it again? What I mean is, there are songs where the fallen don't have rope enough to climb out of wells, and there are songs where lovers return when the night descends. Since you mentioned them, let's read some of those palindromic sonnets. So I've been obsessed with revising these, and to the extent that I don't know if I even like them anymore, but I love them, but I don't know if I like them. So yeah, the next book is a series of 40 sonnets, which, you know, you read from bottom to top, and then I flip them from top to bottom. And I think after having been trapped in this structure that I invented for myself, I think I invented it because when I moved here, I was constantly looking. I lived here, but my body was somehow still in the Arab world. I lived in this time zone, but I was also talking to friends in the other time zone. And so I think this form comes out of this particular exile. This one is titled Starting Over Sonnet. I haven't learned not to call places mine. I rehearse departure to leave the blue house by November. I step out barefoot, too late. I try to excavate a past, an alternate self. Moving trucks arrive. Is the city I've been mourning a ghost? Humid, ominous, ever-present, gone. In the end, we fly in August, a month of sun and war. Mediterranean, my husband writes, filling out forms. He adds, when did Gilgamesh return to Uruk? Be like a river, my friend says. I ask, how? What I name eagle is hawk. Tell God, everything's bigger from down here. Tell God, everything's bigger from down here, how what I name eagle is hawk. Be like a river, my friend says. I ask, when did Gilgamesh return to Uruk? My husband writes, filling out forms. He adds, of sun and water, Mediterranean in the end. We fly in August, a month humid, ominous. Ever present, gone is the city. I've been mourning a ghost, an alternate self. Moving trucks arrive too late. I try to excavate a past house. By November, I step out barefoot. I rehearse departure. To leave the blue I have not learned. To not call places mine. This one mentions the genocide, and it's after a song by Kairoki, who are an Egyptian band. And the song begins with, he saves sea turtles and ignores human animals, something like that. And so this is after Kairoki, and it's called Sea Turtle Sonnet. Our parents stayed during the Civil War. Don't say we escaped, just that we too failed. We left Beirut on the verge of collapse and revolution. That clearing of hope, where would we be without it? Ask Ziad, who put the city on a stage and laughed at its slow ways of killing us with pills or memory. So many of us scream in concerts and sleep. When in doubt, try Kuhl. The artist with Cairo in his name sings, this is a cause, friend, and that is another. Save sea turtles and ignore oppression, poppies. In the genocide, try yoga. Don't say we betrayed, just that we too feared. Don't say we betrayed, just that we too feared poppies. In the genocide, try yoga. Save sea turtles and ignore oppression. This is a cause, friend, and that is another. The artist with Cairo in his name sings in concerts and sleep. When in doubt, try Kuhl or memory. So many of us scream at its slow ways of killing us with pills. Who put the city on a stage and laughed? Where would we be without it? Ask Ziad and revolution, that clearing of hope. We left Beirut on the verge of collapse. Don't say we escaped, just that we too failed our parents, stayed during the Civil War. I'll read one more sonnet. This is spell sonnet. You saw a bird die in midair today. Vegas is full of mountain and money. Brooklyn shuffles tarot and promises fire escapes. Beirut is forgetful. Some cities are poetry, which means they're corridors in which new loves are waiting for you, though you don't know this yet. Here are the stakes. Only senseless heartbreak and joy. What did you think? That the gods will lower the tides so you can cross like a prophet? That your child won't get sick? That you will part your lips and love will quench? I am telling you. Here's a folded paper. Yes, it will cut. Yes, there will be blood. Perhaps it's worth it. Yes, there will be blood. Perhaps it's worth it. Here's a folded paper. Yes, it will cut your lips and love will quench. I am telling you that your child won't get sick, that you will part the tides so you can cross like a prophet. What did you think? That the gods will lower the stakes? only senseless heartbreak and joy for you, though you don't know this yet. Here are corridors in which new loves are waiting. Some cities are poetry, which means they're fire escapes. Beirut is forgetful. Brooklyn shuffles tarot and promises. Vegas is full of mountain and money. You saw a bird die in midair today. Thank you. So testing out those new ones. That's a very, very, very new one. So I guess vulnerability is the theme of the day. I'll end on this one. It's I was pissed off at people who read poems that mean nothing. I was just pissed off in the genocide at people who read poems that mean nothing. This is titled The Poem. You know the poem, the one that comforts every teacher and political party, the one not too much, not too little, the one just enough heartache, just enough I'm paying attention, not enough to ruin your day or career, the one without haunting, the one with tinges of kindness or war, no specifics, no names for the dead. You know the poem. You love the poem, and I too love it. This isn't even about the poem. I'm saying you don't get to read it and believe yourself liberated and good and even brave, nah. Not if it's mellow enough for famous actors. Not if it's swallowed down like water. Listen, I am talking about dirt. Thank you.
Wow, what a trio, what an evening. Oh my goodness, man. Can we wait till 2027 for those palindromic sonnets? Lord have mercy. So I want to thank our three poets, Zeina, Deema, and Priscilla. It's really been fabulous. I guess we'll have like 5-10 minute break, depending on how chatty folks are, and then we'll do. I guess everyone who would like to read in the open session has signed up, or I'll let Jerry know, and and everyone will have within 5 minutes a piece to do a bit of verse. So yeah, beautiful. Thank you all so much. Yeah. right, we'll, and Jerry, you have the list, right? How many folks are? Four in addition, so half dozen of us, okay. All right. All right, so we'll get the open part of the evening underway. I'll read a couple of things, and Jerry, and then the people on the list. So, you guys are a tough act to follow, of course. It's quite, in honor of both Bo and Deema, I think I'll read the poem I wrote, inspired by the image of Al-Mutanabi Street and the very vivid and tragic image of that destruction of a cultural center, of the heartbeat of a city, and a culture being destroyed just in the senseless bloodletting that has been going on there for so long. This is entitled "On a Pyre of Blue Sugar." Death haunts every rhyme. Good day, Mr. Death. And every song, every cascade of crimson nothingness asleep in our marrow or jazzing our bones. Our books are a mountain of broken spines, and the blood won't stop to have coffee. Death sets a blistering pace, its shadow on the sidewalk, an upside-down guitar spilling tristesse. But death stiffens your drink with a gut-wrenching growl, a discolored beard, a grammatical lapse that feeds the guillotine or torches a bouquet of poppies. Death takes a break, a breath, a breather, then disembowels a poet like a piebald heifer and autopsies a cup of sand. After all, the poet Al-Mutanabi has been dead 1,000 years, and death wears Beelzebub's bullwhip like a sprig of oleander. This is entitled Off Color. Phones were once as immobile as deeply rooted trees. I'm fighting to maintain the premise of my postage stamp-sized life. As Professor Hussein from Howard University said, we're in for one long slog through the bowels of racial animus. Our self-awareness is sporadic. We barely show up for the show trials. We're ascending to heaven in gas guzzlers from hell. Our tyrant king is a fool's gold worm, gleaming in the mire like a lost golf ball. Fast forward to happy hour. Make a tuxedo out of discarded pajamas. Don't give an inch. Feed your dreams. Autopsy oblivion before the body cools down. Yeah, it's such an interesting moment because it seems everything is fraught with such profound meaning, and of course it always is. This historical era, as tragic and unbearable as it is, it's just typical. There's not a century of this planet's history, I think, that wasn't fraught with, human missteps of every ghastly description. Let me finish this just very briefly. To your knees. Redolent of brimstone and beer, the rain came down like a pole-axed angel in distressed denim. It was raining frogs and Liberty fries, cats and dogs and unpaid taxes. The lunatic clown was killing us. We huddled under weather vanes, shouting the blasphemies Whitman couldn't utter. Bop standards went walkabout in our brains. The lunatic clown was killing us, seizing our assets, our asses, and our minds. Only 1 in 10,000 could locate either Yemen or Estonia on a map, or tell a lie from a lie. My paternal grandfather lived in Manhattan and Brooklyn for 65 years and could spell neither one. but he could shake your hand so firmly it would bring you to your knees. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, and my esteemed colleague Jerry who will preside over the open session, and we'll start it off.
Michael's the oldest. Oh, how do you say this? the poet I've known the longest in San Francisco. One of our great poets, I think. You know, he's really good. I'm going to sing a love song. Oh. It's called The Seasons of Our Love. Send your rainbows falling in the sheltered grace of longing. Fill your arms with gentle laughter in the morning of our rapture. Neath the waterfall of friendship, I'll be reaching for your courtship till the seasons of our love run out of time. Find your face of flowers in the quiet hidden bowers, in the shade I call your power, to bring the soft spring showers. No more sending lonely arrows from the hero's ivory tower. We finally aroused her with a sigh. Summer winds are blowing, the fields are overflowing, our blessed hearts unknowing, like the butterfly that races, receiving all our chases, till we fall into embraces and capture love's twin faces for a while. Then autumn leaves are falling, our separate ways are calling, each to his own highway, an endless separate skyway, to follow his tomorrow, the shadow of the swallow, and triumph over sorrow, and not ask why. 'Cause winter makes us shiver as she covers all the mirrors, a blue dress of sudden ices hides her holy spices. She stops the rivers with her eyes to watch the sparrow as he dies, sings a song of death to you and I. Send your rainbows falling into sheltered grace of longing. Fill your arms with gentle laughter in the morning of our rapture near the waterfall of friendship. I'll be reaching for your courtship till the seasons of our love run out of time. Get the list out here. Okay. Okay, we've got four poets, and first of all, we'll have Mark Cormier, my old friend, long time San Francisco poet.
That's pretty tall. How tall? We don't know how tall yet. Okay. How's that? That's too high.
That's too high.
How's that? How's that?
That's probably fine. All right, so I read a couple of these. The first two sections a couple of months ago. This was written for the inauguration. There is a chorus. You guys remember YMCA? It's MAGA, maggot. Part 3. Let stones their silences keep. To the composer of liberty, to you we bow. That which these hands touch, it's as if other hands were doing the touching. Whose hands? Am I a marionette? Where are my strings? Where hide the puppeteers? In plain sight, Facebook, Insta, X, and Fox. This shining city now perched on top of unstable rocks. This day that never dawns. I look down and see myself sitting. I am not moving, but I'm not dead yet. I'm fully awoke. But it's as if life were a mirror and I've lost my reflection. I can tug, I can whisper, but the gulf that separates those of us who've gone on only flows one way. This is America. This is the Gulf of Fools. America, the boondoggle, the Botox, the bungle. How felt the land, how weak our hand. The pledge those above us betray, I pinch myself hard. My flesh yields and becomes red, but it's as if I've become a plastic doll, bereft of pleasure, bereft of pain, ornamental, a constitutional clause. Barbie and Ken now rule. 2 more smiling puppets. Congress, freedom's grand experiment, as Dad said, tits on a bull. In the hands of fraud, in the clutch of selfish wrong. The full moon looks smaller than any star. The sun backs away from the earth as I back away from my own shadow. In worldwide wonder listening, the tree lights glistening, the ship of state now listing, the court sausage packed. I can weep or I can laugh, but silicone tears adorn the gash of my smile. I watch myself grinning. I watch the new president promising. I wonder if these eyes are still mine. Would you accept these eyes, these kidneys, this heart? The rent is due and my kids need shoes. I'll take what you offer. I can be parted out for pay. There is rot in the apple. The core is mealy. The seeds are bitter. Its flesh is brown, fit only for flies. Ready? M-A-G-A, maggot. I'll go one more. Part 4. The sword was sheathed in ignorance. Sky winds sighed their praise, but the wind is now dead. There is no more air. I spread my fingers wide, the space between my fingers clogged with light. Light is as much substance as heart. Heart was once more than just another noun. I'm awoke. I have visions, and yet these visions offer no comfort. They rile up my soul as if hot rice stirred in a pan. I see a big balloon of a president. I once liked to play chess. Now even the queen seems futile, and the king corrupt, the author of liberty. Before you we strut. The smell of hot dogs, grilling, street meat, peppers, onions, all are pigments on a flavorless canvas. The street once had a name, now its name is that of all others, no thing. The map's erased, we have no way forward. We cannot look back, the puppeteers have erased our history. The past is an evaporating stammer. I do not belong here. Lo, whoever will be patient shall not be nursed. The supporting branches of America's tree, insane as it's never been. My thoughts as alien as microbes. When I speak, I can hear gears spinning, prying open and then shutting my mouth. We patriots are his wind-up toys. We, the people, are his thingamabobs. I once had hunger, I once had thirst. This new country of mine woos me into oblivion. The seduction malignant, the spider's hug, impure avarice. Scratching my nose to make sure it's still there, scratching my eyes out, I can no longer smell, I can no longer see. What I touch doesn't touch back. Could this coup succeed? Of honor and hopes, the old rope-a-dope. As if an astronaut on a spacewalk, if I let go of the rope, if I forget to seal the airlock, if the spacesuit that I wear springs a leak. America, we once amorously shared a bed, and now you direct me to a photo of your long-held partner, the one who succeeded me. 250 years passes in a flash. You once spent more than a day ignoring me. I ignored you back. Nobody won. To you I sing. To you I offer my hand, but my hand is fake. It falls off as soon as you grip it. To you I wrinkle my brow as if I could crumple it up and toss it away as litter. I'm looking at my head from the top. How did I get so bald? How did I lose more than one hair at a time? I am no eagle. My feathers futile, wings clipped as if a bulldog's curly tail. I am an emballed alligator. The promise the rest of the centuries kept, we break. What I did an hour ago is mummified into stone, every minute a tick onto a tomb. My head spins faster than my feet. I'm lost in the moment. I fall to the ground. The Great Salt Lake, what I thought was the roiling of water, is the roiling of 10,000 flies. And here we go. M-A-G-A, maggot.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Mookie. I'm a young poet from Istanbul, Turkey. I actually just moved to Glen Park, like right up the street. Thank you to Bert and Beckett for existing and for holding space for things like this. Yeah, I'm really glad you guys are in my neighborhood. I'm gonna read 3 poems. This first one is called Viscera. I remember the stray cat that snatched the bunny, my bunny, that I'd only known for 2 hours and was letting roam the backyard, because I thought I knew the rules about who could come into whose house and eat whose pet. But a cat, as immaculate as all of God's creatures, except us, of course, only sees prey. What did that one poet say about the innocence of carnivores? And can leap from one garden wall to the next, with my white bunny in its blood-stained jaw, never to be seen again. I remember how I cried and cried for hours, made the maid and the gardener's wife run after her. They came back in heaving breaths, reassured me that it must have been a mother cat trying to feed her babies. That night, I went to sleep with visions of a bunny ripped from navel to throat, the kittens suckling at its innards like they would at their mother's nipples. Thank you. The second one is about my family friends whose bodies we never recovered after the earthquake in Hatay, which is in southeastern Turkey. That was a bit more than 2 years ago now. And me visiting home and visiting their home with my parents. It's called Uncertainty is the Refuge of Hope. When I look back, yes, it's true. I did kneel in prayer to you under the green bathroom tile, and my knees did hurt afterwards because I'm not used to bowing my head. But I swear I had thought about how I should wear something casual because my mom had said we should be normal around your parents and how we shouldn't say my condolences. And I had noticed before we left that my dad was wearing sneakers, which is why I'd put on an old sweater and not washed my hair because I thought we had to make a small deal out of you. But in the time it took for us to get off the parking lot elevator and get into the car, my mom had already decided I had to change my clothes and wash the grease out of my hair, and I admit I didn't think of you then. Instead, I thought about how she had worked herself up to this tantrum and how she was feeding her anger with more anger, and it was almost embarrassing how childish she was acting. But then I went back home and wet my hair, and that's when I thought of you again. You and your wife and your toddler, and how lucky my parents were just to know where my body was in that exact moment. Thanks. And thank you. This next one is called My Grandparents. She had only agreed to marry him under the condition that her father make up with her cousins, whom she loved more than this man, who would bring olives and cheese and bread to their bedroom every night for her to eat, because she was too spoiled to go to the kitchen herself and too proud to talk to her new husband's working-class parents, who were the reason why, when he was appointed to work in their town, he hid the slip under his pillow for 3 nights and prayed for the writing to change to a town far away, where they could live on olives and cheese and bread and have 2 sons and a single daughter whom they would never love enough so that she could grow up to love me too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mookie and Alice Roloff. Good friend of the store. Lives in this in Glen Park. Yeah.
And it's conveniently about the same price.
Almost.
How's that?
Oh, good. Thank you. This is for my husband who passed away recently. The little boat I gave you. Now that you're gone, I see the toys and gifts I gave to you, a grown man, are still not opened. They seemed enticing, but you had rallies and marches to go to. Now the bagpipe pipe goes to a bagpiper. It only had one little squeak. And the little model boat never assembled goes to an old friend, John, a carpenter who builds. You never learned to play the guitar, and the saxophone was given to a niece who won music competitions. Perhaps this was all better. You had wrongs to right and people to help. Now I'm given flowers and a green plant I named Seamus. The boat will sail in a pond in Golden Gate Park. I watch Seamus, seeing him fade and recover while I water him, and go to one of all those committees who you said are in the good fight for working people, for health and housing, against fascism. And this is called No Targeted Response. From above, can the pilot see each house, see who is in it, ready to aim from the sky? The houses are like doll houses, and after the rubble, there are dolls and children, lifeless like dolls. These men and women of the sky, they see that they don't see, and the pilots fly away above the carnage, the children beneath the rubble, tailwinds behind the pilots. And this is called War or Peace. I slope down into the beach on an angled walk. Something in my head keeps ticking, like an aneurysm that may open soon. This type of death, uncomfortable, is a strange whisper, different than the rampages of hyenas and wasps. There's so many kinds of history, all the legions that devastate cities, and the piercing desperation of a child's eyes looking out from a wall. There's my lonely walk to a library with people lying on the steps and trying to look above it all, seeing a kaleidoscope of the world's people. And there is a small stage with mimes near the Church of St. Francis. There are steps from the bottom to the city, to the top, to the stars. If we only knew how to climb, the enemy of the heart can cling like a lover feeding poison to me. I'm looking for a musical progression where the intersection of harmonies don't clash.
Thank you, Alice. And Scooter. Thank you. This is called 21st Century Subtraction. Spirits, memory, full days, forgotten worlds, forgotten words, language, cells, story of singing, making shapes, meditation, tongue against stone. Low in the sky, the sun, a sentinel. Late November, California autumn day. Warm enough to believe in the state of grace. The afternoon etched like an artifact. Time suspended. Crows in flight. Plants still flowering. I don't think you would like it here, where we measure time in sunlight and tattooed dreams. California not as an idea. California as an architect, where reality is imagination. An angel of the night, half naked, half dressed. Land of the ancient ones, the redwoods and the endless ocean. Timeless mountains, division and madness live here too. Forgive us for these transgressions. And remember that night in L.A., eating tacos in the rain with Betsy and Sovan. The night before my mother's funeral, momentarily without a care in the world. A friend like a shadow, remember the dance language is. The window, the landscape in motion, that is. And the other night I was just looking for something on YouTube and I found somebody reading like a beatnik poem from an old movie. So here's another beatnik poem. Jelly donut midnight, the moon a museum of the mind. A union of circuit and bone, the stars, street lights, sounds of the night in the distance, a silent sonnet, jelly donut, crumble of happiness, fall like stars at my feet, a free verse of existence, a new operating system of the mind, keeper of secrets, inhaling light. Thank you.
Anyone else wants to read for concluding word? Thank you, everyone. It's been a fabulous evening. I guess some of the financial, chief financial officer among you can figure out how to. Each check is each, but and the money should be complicated to. Holds an honorary